Listen, this has been a horrible week. I mean, this is the reality of gun violence. My week started with Mother's Day, the first without my kid, followed by the 3-month anniversary of the shooting, and then followed by today. And you know, I can't get over that this is happening again. And I just want to say, because all I think about right now today is these families. My heart goes out to you. I know what you're going through. I am here for you. This week, I hope people leave you alone so you can mourn, so you can bury your kids and bury your loved ones, so that you can get through the shock. But I'm here for you, and my heart goes out to you. I get it.
And it must be so discouraging to think that the horror that you went through, now another set of families are going through it, and really very little has changed in terms of anybody doing anything to prevent this from happening.
So I'm going to say this. I'm not discouraged. I'm pissed off. And the reason I'm not discouraged is things are changing. Go city to city, state to state. Look at what the business community is doing. Things are changing. Laws are changing. However, on a national level, nothing is happening. And that's where action needs to happen. Because unfortunately, when you have inconsistent laws all over the country, which is what we have now, these things will still happen. When you have states that won't put in place any laws, these things are going to happen. The reality is, we need to do everything we can to stop these incidents from happening. There'll be a dissection of what happened here today. They'll figure out why it happened. We'll talk about what we could have done and should have done. But we also need to limit the casualties. We need to deal with the issue of guns as well. We need to deal with everything. I am actually encouraged by what's happening on a local level. I was just in Ohio this week at the request of Governor Kasich and talking to a committee on the House and Senate side there and delivering testimony about what happened in Parkland and what we did in Florida. And one of the responses from the legislators was, we're not really feeling the push to do anything because the citizens aren't pushing us to act. And I said, that's a great thing because it means Parkland didn't happen here yet, but you don't want to be next. And 2 days later, here we are at the next one. I implore all cities, all counties, all states, do what our government will not do, and do it on your own. And I will say shame on our president, shame on Speaker Ryan, shame on Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who simply won't even open their mouths. And I will tell you, not speaking about an issue is not legislation. Okay? Mm-hmm. You can't legislate by shutting up. And they're just shutting up, and it's pathetic.
So, Fred, I know that after the horrific shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, there was a move, and the parents of the victims, such as yourself, worked with legislators in Florida, in Tallahassee, to pass something, and there was a big bill that did pass. You tweeted earlier today, we do not need thoughts and prayers, we need action. Texas Governor Abbott, he echoed that in a press conference, saying that he is going to convene a group to demand action. What are some steps? Obviously, for a moment, if I could just take the AR-15 debate off the table, because we're talking about Texas here. What do you think, what would you recommend in Texas that might be able to pass?
Let's start with red flag laws. Okay, they should be everywhere in this country, no questions asked. When we know of a potential threat, law enforcement ought to have the ability to remove those weapons, no questions asked. And when they go to remove those weapons, what you're going to find is potentially more than guns, which was the case here. So that's number one. We need to deal with the age. Kids should not have guns. It should go to 21. Now, in this case, it seems like these kids may have gotten these weapons from their parents. So we need to deal with the responsibility of gun ownership. If parents aren't securing their weapons, okay, then they should be held equally accountable in this incident. Okay, if you start holding the parents accountable for the kids having free access to those weapons, parents will change their behavior and lock those weapons up. Okay, We need to do more with the background check system. We need to deal with these things, and we need to ban high-capacity magazines. But I'll give you another idea that I thought of this morning, and it relates to the $500 million payout from Michigan State in relation to the Nassar crime. And when you have a payout like that, that changes behavior, okay? You can be sure universities are going to make sure they never allow things to happen like what happened with this gymnastics coach ever again, because they don't want to be the next $500 million payout. Well, you know what? The gun industry, they need to pay out. We ought to create a national victims compensation fund for all victims of gun violence that is funded by gun manufacturers on every weapon sold and every weapon manufactured, okay? And it can, if they have to pay, they will change their behavior. You can count on it.
Fred Guttenberg, thanks for joining us, and just wanted you to know we're thinking of Jamie today, and we were thinking of you. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Our breaking news coverage continues next. Stay with us.
Appliance got you down? Head to the Sears Memorial Day event. Up to 40% off appliances. 52% off this Kenmore refrigerator. 50% off Kenmore Elite laundry pairs. Find your new appliance at the Sears Memorial Day event.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana, the new way to buy a car.
This is a whole bunch of bananas. Buried within it is an apple. How do you find what's been covered up? You start digging.
Here you go, little guy. A cockroach can survive submerged underwater for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Not getting in today. Not on my watch.
Pests never stop trying to get in. We never stop working to keep them out. Terminix, defenders of home.
Your company is constantly evolving, and the decisions you make have far-reaching implications. The right relationship with a corporate bank who understands your industry and your world can help you make well-informed choices and stay ahead of opportunities. PNC brings you the resources of one of the nation's largest banks and a local approach with a focus on customized insights, so you and your company are ready for today.
1 year ago today, Mom started searching for her words, and my brother Ray and I started searching for answers.
When it's time to navigate in-home care, follow that Bright Star. Because Bright Star Care earns the same accreditation as the best hospitals. And Bright Star Care means an RN will customize a plan that evolves with Mom's changing needs.
Because Dad made us promise we'd keep Mom at home.
Call 844-4BRIGHT STAR for your free home care planning guide.
I'm Chris Cuomo. Friends, let's get after it. Forget about the spin. This is about how we got here. Sarah Sanders joining us, Joe Biden, Senator Ted Cruz. Why was that ever on the table? I understand why you don't like the question. He's cleaning your car. Boy, you guys all sound the same. Facts matter. Just tell the truth.
Cuomo Prime Time, weeknights at 9 Eastern, starting June 4th on CNN.
Experience a Cadillac for yourself at Voss Village Cadillac, Dayton's #1 Cadillac dealer in customer sales and service. Check out the great selection of the entire line of Cadillacs in stock, priced, and ready to go. Experience the Cadillac difference only at Voss Village Cadillac in Centerville.
The U.S. Congress. There's 68 teachers, 15 farmers, 4 pilots, but only 1 lobbyist. That's right, Jim Renacy's been a lobbyist even while in Congress. And what's he done? He voted to make it easier for lobbyists to hold key government positions and harder to investigate conflicts of interests. And now he's running for Senate? Jim Renacy, he's always looked out for himself.
I'm Sherrod Brown, and I approve this message.
Experience a Cadillac for yourself at Voss Village Cadillac, Dayton's #1 Cadillac dealer in customer sales and service. Check out the great selection of the entire line of Cadillacs in stock.
Welcome back to CNN's live coverage after a horrific school shooting in Santa Fe, Texas, just about 30 miles south of Houston. Federal and local and state investigators are right now pouring through the background of the suspect who's now being held on capital murder charges in today's killing of 9 students and 1 teacher in Santa Fe, Texas, and wounding of 10 others, some of whom are still in the hospital. Let's continue the conversation with the panel. And Art, what you know of the shooter so far in terms of the information that we've been able to glean, is there anything that strikes you as interesting or alarming?
Well, when this first occurred, the first 2 things that struck me was the fire alarm, and then we find out about the explosives, and those are past deadly techniques that were used in other school shooting cases. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they find out from his computer that he's actually gone on and studied deadly techniques used in the past by past active shooters.
Would the trench coat potentially fit into that? Those of us who are old enough to remember Columbine would remember that the
Columbine.
shooter...
Yeah, we had trench coats in Columbine. We also had pipe bombs at Columbine. So, I mean, those 2, it just wouldn't surprise me if they find out that he's actually gone ahead and studied techniques used in past school shootings.
Josh Campbell, you know the Harris County law enforcement officials in the area of Houston and Santa Fe, Texas. Tell me about how you think they're working with federal law enforcement authorities, state law enforcement authorities, and how they're going to decide who will prosecute this case.
That's a good question. I mean, having grown up and lived less than an hour from Santa Fe, I can tell you the law enforcement culture there is very strong, and you have that fusion of state, federal, local law enforcement. I think now, as we look at what we know as of yet, is that it looks like it will probably be prosecuted on the state side. It doesn't appear as though there's a federal nexus yet. I mean, there's a question with respect to the IED, whether that could be, prosecuted on a weapons of mass destruction charge. I imagine it's going to go state, but you can bet that the feds will be there assisting every step of the way.
And Dimitri, before we came back from break, you told me that we, meaning law enforcement, you're a former Chicago police officer, that you feel you're being outmaneuvered. What do you mean by that?
We're being outmaneuvered by teenagers, but they're also part of the solution. It's time for all hands on deck. We got to be innovative. We got to get everybody involved, including the potential victims, the teenagers, because they're going to help us solve this. But yeah, we're absolutely being outmaneuvered, and we don't need to, Jake. So it's time for us to keep things moving forward.
When you say outmaneuvered, what do you mean? Obviously, there's this horrific school shooting, but
while we're arguing about bureaucracy and policy, the folks that want to do bad, do harm to our citizens, to our communities, and to our school children, they're the ones that are planning and innovating and coming up with solutions to overcome what we've put in place. Training, active shooter stuff, as we've talked about already. We have to start to be more innovative, think further outside the box, and that's what's going to save lives.
And Art, I just want to ask you, the explosive devices, you used to work at the Bureau of Alcohol, I'm sorry, you were with U.S. Marshal Service, but you worked with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in that capacity sometimes. How sophisticated are these explosives that we're talking about?
Well, I mean, you can get the information right off the internet and make them in your garage, as we have found, or trailer in this particular case. But again, he's done some studying here, I believe, because we know about pressure cookers from the Marathon bombing. We know about pipe bombs. Pipe bombs have been around a long time, and as volatile as they are, they're very, very deadly. You're talking about a lot of shrapnel.
All right, everyone, stick around. We have a lot more to talk about. Upsetting numbers about this year-end school shooting. Stay with us.
This is your wake-up call. If you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis, month after month, the clock is ticking on irreversible joint damage. Ongoing pain and stiffness are signs of joint erosion. Humira can help stop the clock. Prescribed for 15 years, Humira targets and blocks the source of inflammation that contributes to joint pain and irreversible damage.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Help stop the clock on further irreversible joint damage. Talk to your rheumatologist. Right here, right now. Humira.
I have type 2 diabetes. I'm trying to manage my A1C. Then I learned type 2 diabetes puts me at greater risk for heart attack or stroke. Can one medicine help treat both blood sugar and cardiovascular risk? I asked my doctor. She told me about non-insulin Victoza. Victoza is not only proven to lower A1C and blood sugar, but for people with type 2 diabetes treating their cardiovascular disease, Victoza is also approved to lower the risk of major CV events, such as heart attack, stroke, or death. While not for weight loss, Victoza may help you lose some weight.
Victoza is not for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not take Victoza if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you are allergic to Victoza or any of its ingredients. Stop taking Victoza and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck or symptoms of a serious allergic reaction such as rash, swelling, difficulty breathing or swallowing. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis. So stop taking Victoza and call your doctor right away if you have severe pain in your stomach area. Tell your doctor your medical history. Gallbladder problems have happened in some people. Tell your doctor right away if you get symptoms. Taking Victoza with the sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Common side effects are nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, decreased appetite, indigestion, and constipation. Side effects can lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
Change the course of your treatment. Ask your doctor about Victoza.
And the safety for most parallel parking job goes to Emily LaPierre from Ames, Iowa.
This is Emily's third nomination and first win.
Wow. Just wow. First of all, to my fellow nominees, it is an honor sharing the road with you. And of course, to the Progressive Snapshot app for giving good drivers the discounts, no, I have to say it, for giving good drivers the discounts they deserve. Safe driving!
Join CNN for the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, live from Windsor on their special day. The royal wedding. Coverage starts tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. on CNN.
Locked into an expensive internet and phone contract? That's bad for business. Spectrum Business is good for business because there are no contracts and no hidden fees or added taxes either. And Spectrum Business will even buy out your existing contract up to $500. And that's good for your business. Get faster internet and advanced voice from Spectrum Business with no contracts. Call 877-509-4352 and switch today.
Allergy congestion can keep you from enjoying the moment. Allegra D combines a fast, non-drowsy antihistamine with a powerful decongestant to help you break through symptoms for 24 hours of relief. Get back to the moment with Allegra D.
Eat your veggies. Clean your room. Brush your teeth. Okay.
Introducing Act Kids toothpaste. Strengthens and protects developing teeth and helps prevent cavities. At least one thing's easier. New Act Kids toothpaste. Kids love it, cavities don't.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer. Up next on CNN.
We're following our breaking news on the school shooting. I'll be discussing it this Sunday morning on State of the Union. Among our guests will be Senator Mark Warner, Democrat of Virginia. Before we go today, we wanted to take a minute to remind you that today's massacre in Texas is just the latest in an all too familiar reality in this country. By our count, there have been 9 deadly shootings on school campuses just this year. Innocent people, many of them children, killed at grade schools and at high schools and at colleges. January 20th at Wake Forest University in North Carolina, 1 dead. January 23rd, Marshall County High School in Kentucky, 2 dead. January 31st, Lincoln High School in Philadelphia, 1 dead. February 14th, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, 17 dead. February 24th, Savannah State University, 1 dead. March 2nd, Central Michigan University, 2 dead. March 7th, Huffman High School in Birmingham, Alabama, 1 dead. March 20th, Great Mills High School in Maryland, 1 dead. And today, Santa Fe High School in Texas, at least 10 dead. the latest horrifying incident, where we heard earlier today from this survivor.
Was there a part of you that was like, this isn't real, this would not happen in my school?
No, there wasn't.
Why so?
It's been happening everywhere. I've always kind of felt like eventually it was going to happen here too.
It's been happening everywhere. I always felt eventually it would happen here. That is a statement that would not have been made when I was a kid. Ask yourself, are we failing our children?
Happening now, breaking news, deadly Texas shooting. 10 people are dead after a gunman opens fire inside a Texas high school. The teenage suspect, a student, is in custody. But did he act alone? Search for explosives. Police say the gunman left behind a variety of explosive devices, and there's an urgent search underway for more, with residents urged to be on the lookout for suspicious items. And the shooter's motive. Why would a 17-year-old turn on fellow students? Authorities say there are clues in his journal and on his cell phone, and he left a social media footprint with chilling images. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We're following breaking news, a mass shooting at a high school, this time in Texas. 10 people are dead, 10 others wounded. A 17-year-old suspect is in custody, along with another person held as a possible accomplice. And it could have been worse. Police say they found improvised explosives at the school and off campus. I'll speak with the House Homeland Security Committee Chairman, Congressman Mike McCall of Texas. And our correspondents and specialists, they're standing by with full coverage. But let's get right to the breaking news. A truly horrific school shooting and an urgent hunt for explosives. Brian Todd has been piecing together the details. Brian, what are you learning?
Wolf, new information coming in tonight from multiple sources. Officials in Texas say it appears the prime suspect walked into Santa Fe High School this morning wearing a long coat with a shotgun under the coat and began firing shortly after school started. Tonight, investigators are questioning 17-year-old Dimitrios Pagorchis, who they say planted explosives around Santa Fe High School in Texas before opening fire.
More shots fired, additional shots fired.
The first call came into 911 at 7:32 this morning, shortly after school had started.
Still have several more shots fired.
Students say Pagorchis, who attended Santa Fe High, seemed to have a plan. Fire alarms were pulled around the time the shooting happened.
I was in the history hallway, and as soon as we heard the alarms, everybody just, started leaving, following the same procedure as we did, because nobody thought it would be this. Nobody thought it was a shooting. Everybody just thought it was a, normal procedure, practice, fire drill.
Pagorchis appears to have set off explosives, which officials say they believe he built himself.
He just put IEDs, threw them in a room. We might have lots of sight bombs.
We just hear 3 gunshots, loud explosions, and all the teachers are telling us, run, go, run.
As police began surrounding the school, inside they say he continued shooting, using a shotgun and a revolver taken from his father.
He's actually shooting. He's in the art room. We got shots fired right now, guys. We need all of you.
They heard 3 shots, and then Mr. Vaughn said to run, so everybody took off. I grabbed her. I ran to the tree line.
Officials say Pagorchis was injured at some point, though it is not clear how. He was eventually taken alive.
The shooter has information contained in journals on his computer and his cell phone that he said that not only did he want to commit the shooting, but he wanted to commit suicide after the shooting. As you probably know, he gave himself up and admitted at the time that he didn't have the courage.
Officers cleared the building, evacuating students and searching some.
Me and my friend Ryan Calvert ran to the forest so we could get shelter, and that's when I called my mom.
In addition to the shooter, police say they are holding a possible accomplice, an 18-year-old fellow student. Tonight, investigators say they are focused on tracking down any other explosive devices the shooter may have planted at and near the scene. They say they have already found at least 1 Molotov cocktail, as well as a carbon dioxide device. Police now have warrants to search 2 nearby homes, as well as the shooter's car, but are proceeding carefully because of concerns about other bombs.
Community members should be on the lookout for any suspicious items. and anything that looks out of place. Do not touch any items that look out of place.
Tonight, students and parents in Santa Fe are describing moments of terror and confusion.
If you would have heard what I heard this morning, the fear in my loved one's voice because of my son being in that classroom.
Tonight, a law enforcement official tells CNN that authorities are talking to this shooting suspect who is being held on capital murder with no bond. Additional charges may follow. Wolf.
What do we know, Brian, about how many law enforcement officers were actually on the scene when the shooting started and their response?
Wolf, officials say there were 2 law enforcement officers on campus when the shooting started, that they confronted the shooter very quickly, and they were quickly backed up by state police and others. 2 of those law enforcement officers were wounded. At least one of them is in critical condition.
Brian Todd with the latest. Thanks very much. The alleged gunman is now in custody and is said to be talking to investigators. Our justice correspondent, Evan Perez, is here. Evan, what does law enforcement know, first of all, about the suspect?
Well, Wolf, as often happens in these cases, they have found very little trace of him. There is no negative information in his background to indicate that this is something that he was thinking of doing. He hasn't had any previous significant run-ins with law enforcement that would cause him to think that he would be somebody who could carry out something like this. It appears from talking to his classmates, at least law enforcement believes, that they found him to be quiet, but nobody really thought that something was stood out that would cause something like this. Obviously now they're doing a lot of investigation. They're going to talk to his family. They believe at some point something is going to stand out, something that may have happened recently, something that he has said and spoken about. Obviously those journals are going to be key, the information on his phone and his computer, which will indicate whether how long he's been thinking about this and whether or not he had any help for some of these devices. Obviously, that trailer that they've been searching, we've been showing out on air, is one place where apparently they believe he manufactured these bombs, and so they want to know whether he had any help. There's also the matter of possible accomplices, which I think the governor of Texas mentioned at that press conference a couple of hours ago. He talked about at least 2 people that the investigators are talking to. One of them, at least, was a person who's on scene, and so they have been interviewing that person to see whether that person had any involvement in making these devices, whether this person was there to help set up these devices that they found on the scene, or whether he had any role whatsoever in planning this shooting.
These IEDs, these improvised explosive devices, as law enforcement calls them, how sophisticated were they?
Well, at this point, they haven't had a chance to look at all of them because they want to make sure that they're inert. They have to disarm them. This is a process that they're still doing at this hour. They expect it's going to be several hours. We expect, Wolf, that at some point the FBI is going to take custody of them, bring them to Quantico to analyze them. One of the things they want to make sure is that nobody else's fingerprints are on them, that anybody else have a role in setting these up. The pressure cooker bombs, obviously there's recipes online. At least one of them, it appears to be a rudimentary kind of grenade that it's easy to make, really. That's the sad thing, is that a lot of this stuff you can just go online and look at YouTube and other places and find recipes that are very easy for even a 17-year-old kid to follow.
So you say there was no criminal record in this particular case, and not many warning signs, at least until recently. There were a few things, at least with hindsight, that could have raised suspicion?
Right. I think some of the kids who've been interviewed on our air have talked a little bit about some stranger behavior more recently. But again, what happens, and we've seen this in a lot of these cases, where there's not a lot of time lag between the time people see these things and when these kids act out. And again, there's a lot of kids in high school who are going through things, and you can't just assume that they're going to go from just doing strange behavior to carrying out something like this.
Yeah, very sad indeed. Evan, thank you very much. Let's go to CNN's Rosa Flores right now. She's on the scene in Santa Fe, Texas. Rosa, what are you picking up? What's the latest you're learning?
Wolf, still a very active scene. We are being kept about half a mile from the school. Take a look behind me. We're actually prepared to move here very shortly because they want us to move. But let me lay the groundwork here. This is not the only crime scene, Wolf, and that's one of the things that we want to emphasize because as you and your experts have been talking about, according to authorities, there are multiple areas with explosive devices. devices, not just on campus, but off campus. There's an adjacent area with a trailer that has been on our air. Those pictures of that trailer of authorities checking that trailer, figuring out if there are explosive devices and what type of explosive devices there are there. We've also heard about 2 search warrants for homes, the search warrant of a vehicle as well. And so there's a lot going on. And if you just kind of take a look at the surroundings here, this is a pretty small town. There's wooded areas. And so authorities have to be very, very careful. We're also learning more about the explosives from the governor. Take a listen.
Various different kinds of explosive devices have already been detected. One was a CO2 device. Another was a Molotov cocktail. And there are various other types of explosive devices that have been identified both in a home as well as in a vehicle.
Now, here's the latest that we know about the shooter. Now, we know his name, and we also know that he's 17 years old and that he attended this school. But, Wolf, here is the latest from our affiliate KTRK. We're told that his first appearance is in about an hour. Wolf?
First appearance will be in about an hour. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's according to our affiliate KTRK. First appearance in about an hour at the Galveston County Jail.
All right, we'll monitor that, of course, and have coverage. Thanks very much, Rosa, for your reporting. Joining us now, the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Republican Congressman Mike McCall of Texas, not very far from your district, Mr. Chairman. Thanks very much for coming in. What are you hearing? How's the community responding?
Well, it's sort of shocking. This is the worst school shooting in the history of the state of Texas. My heart goes out to the families and my prayers. It's a very shocking day for the state of Texas and the United States.
What are you learning about the suspect?
We don't know a whole lot about him. He's 17 years old. So you have children killing children. This is really horrific and very tragic. I know that he got the weapons from his father. Apparently, they were not locked up. A 17-year-old cannot purchase a firearm legally. And so we don't really know much about it. I think when we look through his communication devices and the internet trafficking, this didn't happen when you and I were growing up. You maybe get in fights in the schoolyard, but not this type of thing. And so the internet has changed a lot of things. You and I talked about terrorism a lot, radicalization, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. Now we're seeing it influence the culture and behavior of our young kids. I have 5 children of my own, and I can't imagine what the parents must be going through having their children killed like this.
Yeah, the governor, your governor, Governor Abbott, he said he didn't know whether or not the father allowed the son to get these weapons or he just took them. Do you know that the father gave the guns to his son?
I don't know, but either way, he is responsible for not to. Either he gave them to him or he didn't lock them up properly, as any gun owner should do.
What was unique, pretty unique, and you correct me if I'm wrong, in this particular case, not only weapons, 2 weapons that this suspected shooter had, but also explosive devices. The governor saying CO2 device, a Molotov cocktail, and other devices there in the school, near the school, and perhaps elsewhere.
And this is why we think there are possibly 1 to 2 accomplices to this that may have either taught him how to do this. As your previous guest said, this is all over the internet. We dealt with this with the Boston bombing case, with the pressure cooker bombs, to the Austin bomber, who we think found this material online and built his own, IEDs. And so this is the age of the internet now.
And as far as you know, they're still searching for these explosive devices?
They're searching the home and the car as I speak for more explosive devices. They have to be very careful. They have a special team that goes in with robotics to remove these devices, and they found them at the schools.
Are they sophisticated or relatively crude?
It's unclear. Molotov cocktail is not this pretty crude device, but then there's also some intimations that there could have been pressure cooker.
You're a former federal prosecutor. The fact that they captured the suspect alive, that he's talking right now, how important is that?
It's and I was a deputy attorney general for the state of Texas as well. It's huge because now they have, in most of these cases, as you know, they commit suicide at the scene or it's death by cop. In this case, we have the suspect alive who is talking. We'll know more if he has accomplices. That's very important. How did he learn how to do this? What were his motivations? And what would cause a 17-year-old child to do something like this?
Do you have any clues at all?
We really don't. It's kind of a clean slate, if you will. There's nothing really to indicate what happened to him, why he woke up this morning. But I do think the internet, in my judgment, had something to do with it. And, the family, I'm sure there were signs and warning signs that could have been observed and stopped. As far as I know, the classmates and teachers didn't really notice anything.
Because if, in fact, he did have some explosive devices, which he clearly did have, and he may have had one or two accomplices, he didn't just wake up this morning and decide he's going to go kill students and a teacher, 10 people altogether, 9 students, 1 teacher, 10 others injured. There are several of them still in the hospital right now, at least 1 or 2 in critical condition. This has been planned for a while. Very premeditated attack with accomplices, I think, to build bombs, to get the weapons, to wear a raincoat on a 90-degree sunny day. That is a red flag right there. And then pull this horrific, tragic shooting off. I think he had thought about it for quite some time. Any idea where he got the material for these explosive devices? We know where he got the 2 weapons. We don't, and I think, as was mentioned before, these explosive devices will be sent by the FBI to Quantico for analysis and evaluation. I think we'll have a lot better understanding of them. I assume ATF is looking at hardware stores elsewhere to see if they can get some clues. The FBI, ATF, federal authorities, state authorities, local authorities, they're all deeply involved. At this point, who's in charge? At this point, it's a state charge. At this point, I know the FBI is investigating to perhaps the U.S. Attorney can bring additional charges for building weapons of mass destruction. That's a federal crime. But right now, he's charged with the ultimate penalty in the state of Texas, and that's capital murder, which carries with it the death penalty. And as you know, the state of Texas, that we take that seriously. He's going to be charged as an adult, which I think is very significant in this case. As you remember in Parkland in February, the school shooting, there were some calls that were made to the FBI, but they really didn't follow up. They made some serious mistakes at that point. Do you know if there were any calls, any warning signs given to the FBI or local police in advance of today's shooting? At least at this point in time, we don't see that. And you're right. Parkland was a law enforcement failure. The FBI was notified in the hotline, didn't respond, didn't share the information. The sheriff was notified almost 40 times. The office didn't respond. And then the resource officers didn't respond to the shooting. They're either, in this case, the resources officers responded very quickly to the scene. Your Governor Abbott, said today, and I'm going to read to you what he said. He said, quote, "We need to do more than just pray for the victims and their families. It's time in Texas that we take action to step up and make sure this tragedy is never repeated ever again in the history of the state of Texas." All right, so you're a member of Congress. Congress has done nothing in the aftermath of all these other school shootings, including plenty of them this year. What, if anything, do you want to do? Well, one thing I did last week, and now it looks, sort of timely, was I introduced the Securing Our Schools Act, which provides authorities to the Department of Homeland Security to come up with a strategy to secure our schools. Right now, they're soft targets. We need to harden these soft targets to protect our children. It provides grant funding to localities to look at training exercises, active shooter training exercises, IEDs, canines. How can we do a better job protecting our schools locally? I hope to get this passed rather soon. I think with this event happening today, it really cries out for my legislation to move forward and move forward quickly. You have some Democratic co-sponsors? Yes, we do. All right. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. Mike McCall is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. Good luck to all the people in that district in Texas, but throughout Texas, throughout the country, who are so distraught over what happened today. Thanks, Wolf. Our hearts go out to all of them. There's more breaking news. We have new information coming in on the Texas high school shooting, which left 10 people dead, 9 of them students. And on the alleged gunman, a 17-year-old student, did he signal his intentions on social media? Plus, officials now say the gunman left behind a variety of explosives, and there's a hunt for more devices as residents now are getting an urgent warning.
Nice SUV. It's a new Buick Enclave. Can fit up to 7 people. Or poodles. He's actually a Golden English Labra Irish Bernedoodle Retriever. The Enclave can fit up to 7 of the Golden English Labra Irish.
Introducing the all-new Buick Enclave, tomorrow's SUV for today's family. Current lessees, switch to Buick and get this low-mileage lease on this 2018 Buick Enclave for around $389 per month.
Liberty Mutual saved us almost $800 when we switched our auto and home insurance.
With Liberty, we could afford a real babysitter instead of your brother. Oh, that's my robe.
Is it? When you switch to Liberty Mutual, you could save $782 on auto and home insurance and still get great coverage for you and your family. Call 1-888-875-3144 for a free quote today. You could save $782 when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Hi, I'm Sarah. And you are?
Matthew. Matthew Bubble Tummy III.
Getting judged on your name is tough. At Overstock.com, our name makes people think we sell overstocked goods. But it's actually everything you see here. Overstock has beautiful new furniture and the latest in home trends, all at Overstock prices. So check us out and judge for yourself. This is nice.
Empire Today here to introduce a revolution in flooring, only available at Empire. Home Fresh Carpet. If you have asthma or allergies like me, or just want to keep your home clean, Home Fresh Carpet is a game changer. Unlike traditional carpet, dust and dirt vacuum up easier, it's mold and mildew resistant, and it helps eliminate odors. Love carpet again with Home Fresh. Hypoallergenic, odor-reducing carpet. 800-588-2300. Exclusively at Empire Today. Empire Today.
The middle seat. Rough if you're on vacation, but the best seat in the house if you're at Outback. Introducing the Aussie 4-Course, starting at $15.99. But hurry, Aussie 4-Course won't last long. And if you want Outback at home, order now.
What's the order? What you don't see can hurt you. Today's connected world is full of threats you may not see if you just monitor your credit to help protect your identity. LifeLock sees more, like your personal information on the dark web. And now with the power of Norton, we detect threats like ransomware too, to help protect your identity and devices. Plus, if there's an identity theft problem, we'll work to fix it with our $1 million protection package. Get new LifeLock with Norton, starting at $9.99 a month.
We decided to go with Bathfitter after doing a lot of research.
Yeah, we loved how they could install a new tub right over the old one without tearing our bathroom apart.
Yeah, what we didn't expect was to be blown away by the quality. And that's what happened. They showed up in the morning, and by the end of the day, we had this absolutely beautiful new bathtub. It was better than we could have even imagined.
And it's guaranteed for life.
I actually love our bathroom now.
You too can have a bathroom you'll love. Call now or visit bathfitter.com.
There are lots of home service companies that will refer you to contractors who do big jobs. But what if you just need help with simple things like junk removal, yard work, and day labor? The Tackle app connects you with background check providers who are standing by to help you with small chores. And with the Tackle app, you don't have to make an appointment to get an estimate. All jobs are pre-priced and you can have someone on the way immediately. Download the Tackle app today and get $50 off your first job. Get your to-do list done with Tackle.
Our Tempur-Pedic gives us the best night's sleep ever.
Now is the best time to experience the most highly recommended bed in America. Save up to $700 on select adjustable mattress sets during our Memorial Day sale. Visit Tempurpedic.com to find your exclusive retailer today.
Closed captioning brought to you by OnlyMeso.com.
Mesothelioma, it's all we do. With 7 offices across the country, let us come meet with you. Call us at 1-800-213-8000.
Breaking news, 10 people are dead in a shooting at a high school in Santa Fe, Texas. The 17-year-old suspect is in custody, along with another person considered to be a possible accomplice. 9 of those 10 people who were killed, students, 1 a teacher. We're standing by for the suspect's first appearance in court. That's expected within the hour. Explosive devices, meanwhile, were found at the school and off campus, and police are searching for more. President Trump has expressed sadness and heartbreak. Let's go to our chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta. Jim, what else is the president saying?
Well, President Trump vowed to have his administration do everything possible to prevent school shootings in response to the massacre in Santa Fe, Texas. Facing yet another mass shooting on his watch, the president noted earlier today that these massacres are a problem that the nation has faced for decades. And here's more of what he had to say earlier today.
This has been going on too long in our country, too many years, too many decades now. We grieve for the terrible loss of life and send our support and love to everyone affected by this absolutely horrific attack To the students, families, teachers, and personnel at Santa Fe High, we're with you in this tragic hour, and we will be with you forever. My administration is determined to do everything in our power to protect our students, secure our schools, and to keep weapons out of the hands of those who pose a threat to themselves and to others. Everyone must work together at every level of government to keep our children safe.
Now, it's unclear what the president will do in response to the school shooting in Texas. Mr. Trump has backed away from any kind of substantial gun control measures, despite initially sounding supportive of those kinds of laws in the days after the massacre in Parkland, Florida, back in February. That was when the president toyed with the idea of restricting firearm purchases to people under the age of 21 years old, among other measures. But the president appeared to reverse course on the issue of gun control after meeting with the National Rifle Association. And, Wolf, we should point out, speaking to the NRA earlier this month, Mr. Trump reverted to his past rhetoric on the gun issue, saying, quote, "Your Second Amendment rights are under siege, and they will never be under siege as long as I am your president." So it sounds like, if you go off of what the president has been saying recently, that he's not really in the mood for any kind of new gun control measures. We should also point out, Wolf, the flag has been lowered to half staff over here at the White House. Wolf, lots of expressions of thoughts and prayers from politicians across Washington. But, Wolf, unfortunately, after too many of these school shootings, these massacres across the country, no solutions coming out of Washington to solve this problem. Wolf.
Yep, it's happened again here in the United States, a school shooting, a massacre. Jim Acosta at the White House, thanks very much. Joining us now on the phone, the Mayor Pro Tem of Santa Fe, Texas, Corey Jeanette. Mr. Jeanette, thank you so much for joining us. Our hearts go out to you, to all your all the folks there in Santa Fe. First of all, tell us about the moment you first learned about this shooting.
Well, thank you, Wolf, and thank you for having me on. And I just want to say, as a member of this community, that we never thought this would be us in the news. Looking at these videos, and I was a member of that high school. I went to the high school for 4 years and graduated from there. It's just too surreal. But unfortunately, several months ago, we had multiple false alarms. And this morning, early this morning, when we first started getting the initial reports and what we thought were rumors, we thought it was just a repeat of those. And after a few phone calls, we found out that this was no false alarm. This was the real deal this time. And I myself have 2 young children, luckily not in high school, but 2 young children, one that is in the ISD that was at school this morning. So that initial few hours trying to get information, not knowing what's true, what's accurate, what's rumor, what's false, was just horrendous. A situation no parent should ever have to live through.
Yes, it was. Have all the families, Mr. Jeanette, families of the victims been notified?
That I don't know. I'm not in any way able to speak on the law enforcement side of things. I honestly do not know, and I cannot speak to that. I do know that I believe that some of that outreach has begun to occur and parents notified, but as far as the progress of that, I do not know.
As you know, at least one person is in critical condition at a local hospital. Have you heard any updates on the injuries? We know at least 10 people were wounded.
No, Wolf, at this time, I don't have any other additional information other than what's being reported on the news.
Authorities, they're also deeply concerned about explosives near the scene, at the school, elsewhere, the residents of this suspect. Is there a plan in place to keep the residents of your city, of your community, Santa Fe, safe?
There is, and I will say that all law enforcement, our local, state government, everybody that has responded to this has just been amazing. They're in control of all the situation. We do know that there's reports of these explosive devices, but again, it is way too early to know what's false, what's true, what's accurate. And unfortunately, that continues to feed into some of the hysteria and fear. But we, as a community, we know that we are in safe hands, and I would just follow what the governor said at the press conference earlier today that if anything suspicious is seen, or even if you just have a feeling that it's not safe, to call it in and err on the side of caution.
As you pointed out, you yourself attended this Santa Fe High School in the Houston area. How is this affecting you on a very personal level?
Oh, it's extremely personal. As I said, watching the news and seeing these videos of the high school, hearing the reports of the classroom that it occurred in. I walked those halls every single day for 4 years and graduated from that high school. And seeing in the background the stadium that I graduated from, that I received my diploma from, and the field behind the school where I practiced with the marching band every day. It's extremely harrowing, and it hits very close to home. I can only imagine the scene at that high school right now. It's a place that I loved for many years and will always be a part of me.
Well, Mr. Jeanette, good luck to you. Good luck to all the folks in your community. As I said, our hearts go out to you, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Wolf.
We're getting new information right now about the school shooting suspect. He posted some deeply troubling images on social media, including a T-shirt with the slogan, "Born to Kill." We're also hearing from some of the people who knew him.
Termites. Feasting on homes 24/7.
We're on the move.
Roger.
All good?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
We're good.
Termites never stop trying to get in. We never stop working to keep them out. Terminix, defenders of home.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the maths here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana, the new way to buy a car.
I lost 25 pounds on Jenny Craig.
From a top diet 8 years straight comes the all-new Rapid Results by Jenny Craig. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks with food you love. Eat 6 times a day with no prepping or cooking.
You have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner ready to go. It's all laid out for you.
So you can get on with your day and watch the pounds melt off.
Man up, give them a call.
Start Rapid Results and lose 16 pounds for $16 plus the cost of food, and get $100 in free food.
Euro. Arby's, we have the meats.
Shopping for our home on Wayfair is so easy. They should make a jingle. Wayfair, you make home shopping easy.
Wait, that sounds familiar.
These new tools make my shopping a breeze. I can plan my room while I'm falling asleep.
How about Wayfair, you got just what I need?
No, it's not good.
Sounds pretty good.
Discover easier home shopping at Wayfair, where it's find and unwind.
Wayfair, you've got just what I need.
When I received the diagnosis, I knew at that exact moment, I'm beating this. My main focus was to find a team of doctors.
It's not just picking a surgeon, it's picking the care team and feeling secure where you are.
Visit cancercenter.com/breast.
Some beautiful things are expensive, but not this. Steinmart. Get the brands you know at prices you'll love. Steinmart. Saving is a beautiful thing.
Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
I didn't believe it. Again.
Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth?
I want to believe it.
Ooh.
I'm not hearing the confidence. Okay, hold the name your price tool. Power of options based on your budget. And
Ooh, make heaven a place on earth.
my angels.
Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
On the next United Shades of America.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
United Shades of America. New episode Sunday night at 10.
Hi. Can I interest you in the DirecTV Select double play package with no ESPN?
No thanks.
All right. You want me to sweeten the deal? And that sweetener is no CBS Sports Network, no NBC Sports Network.
It's a bad deal.
Oh, we got a haggler.
I'm not a haggler.
I'll haggle with you. Okay. And I can't believe I'm even saying this, but I'm going to give you a 2-year contract where the cost nearly doubles in year 2.
What?
That's right. I'm going to give you up to a $480 termination fee.
That's not a good thing, man.
You won't even be able to get out unless you pay.
Do you see that everything you're saying is worse than before?
What I see is someone wants to play hardball. Okay. Batter up. I'll give you no popular sports channels, the early termination fees, and I'll add deeply disappointing AT&T internet. But that's my final offer.
Take care.
Shutting the door on my face trick, huh?
AT&T and DirecTV are selling it. Don't buy it. For the deals you really want, choose Spectrum.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Our breaking news, 10 people are dead, 10 others wounded after a shooting at a Texas high school. The suspect is a student, 17 years old, was captured alive and charged with capital murder. We're standing by for his first court appearance within the hour. During a news conference earlier today, the Texas governor said the suspect had a pretty clean record, but there were clearly warning signs. CNN's Alex Marquardt has more on that. What are you learning, Alex?
Well, that's right, Wolf. We are learning a lot more about the suspect, 17-year-old Demetrius Pagorchis. Authorities are saying there were no red flags, that his record was what they called a clean slate. But CNN is learning from his social media pages that, in fact, warning signs may have been missed. Tonight, the shooter in custody, wearing a jail's orange jumpsuit. In some photos posted online, Demetrius Pagorchis looks like a typical teenager with peace and love symbols on a black baseball cap. His alleged actions on Friday were anything but, and his social media profiles are now offering clues to a dark side. Less than 3 weeks ago on Facebook, Pagorchis posted this chilling picture, a T-shirt with the words, "Born to Kill." The same day, he posted another image of a long black coat. Pinned on it, among other symbols, was a Nazi iron cross, which he said stood for bravery. On the collar, a communist hammer and sickle, representing, he claimed, rebellion. Possibly the coat he was known to often wear.
He doesn't really talk to very many people either. He keeps to himself. He wears a trench coat every day, and it's like 90 degrees out here.
Today, the governor of Texas said the guns used by the shooter, a shotgun and a .38 revolver, were his father's and legally bought. Journals written by Pagorchis also showed he planned to commit suicide after the attack.
The shooter has information contained in journals on his computer and cell phone that he said that not only did he want to commit the shooting, but he wanted to commit suicide after the shooting. As you probably know, he gave himself up and admitted at the time that he didn't have the courage to commit the suicide, that he wanted to take his own life earlier.
It was also on Facebook that Pagorchis confirmed that he went to Santa Fe High School. He claimed he would be joining the Marine Corps, writing that he'd start next year, though the Marines said they don't have a record of him. The 17-year-old junior had played on the JV football team. School reports indicate that he was a standout player, and at one point in 6th grade, a standout student as well, on the honor roll. And, Wolf, there is one more disturbing thing on Pagorchis' Facebook page. The picture that he used for his cover image was the album cover of a French electronic music group. And on their album, there was a song called "Humans Are Easy Prey." Now, all that's going to be part of the trove of information that investigators are sure to be poring over tonight. Wolf?
Certainly seems like, at least with hindsight, lots of warning signs there. Alex, thanks very much. Let's bring in our justice, law enforcement, counterterrorism experts right now. And Evan Perez, I know you've been doing some serious reporting. What are you hearing about the possibility of federal charges being leveled against this 17-year-old?
Well, Wolf, we're told that that is actually a discussion that's now in the early stages on the federal level. We know that he's facing state charges which carry the death penalty, but the federal government is also now looking at possibly bringing charges. He's 17 years old, so this would be something that would require special permission from the Justice Department. The Attorney General would have to approve such a step. And again, he's already facing the likelihood of a death penalty. This is Texas, where they have the death penalty. And again, it would have to be extraordinary circumstances. The fact that there were bombs found there gives some federal jurisdiction to this crime. But again, you know, there's already state charges here. I think the issue here is that the Trump administration wants to send a message. They want to make sure that people know that this is something that is not going to be tolerated. When you have these types of shootings that keep happening around the country.
But federal authorities consider these kinds of improvised explosive devices, WMDs, technically weapons of mass destruction, which would qualify the federal government to take charge.
Right. Technically, these, if you have a bomb, it's considered a weapon of mass destruction, and so therefore you can bring those types of charges. Again, this is a discussion that's beginning at the early stages on the federal level. We'll see whether or not they go forward with this.
Jessica Schneider, you're also our justice correspondent. What else are you hearing right now? You've been doing a lot of reporting on this.
Well, Evan brought in the piece about federal jurisdiction here, whether he might be under that federal jurisdiction. And we know that the federal authorities, they're already out there en masse. So right now, the local authorities, they've taken the lead on this. But really, the federal authorities are out there for manpower and expertise. They've got the bomb techs out there. They've got the agents interviewing witnesses. And something interesting I learned, Wolf, in talking with law enforcement officials, they've also got what's called a Victims Services Division. This is a little-known division. They go out there onto the scene, and they're really there to assist and support the victims' families. And when I talked to with one of these law enforcement officials, they tell me this division, they've gotten better and better of late because, unfortunately, they've been going out more and more to these scenes. I mean, we've seen it this year, 22 school shootings just this year. So really a massive federal response in addition to the local and state authorities.
Very serious indeed. Josh Campbell used to work at the FBI. You were a supervisory agent. What do you think about the Facebook postings that he had, that coat with a Nazi symbol on it, a T-shirt said "Born to Kill"? They're going to be going through all that.
That's right. And, I'm perplexed by how forward-leaning authorities have been in going out and saying that there were no red flags here. Because I can tell you we're, 9 hours into this? How do they know? I mean, this is going to be a very lengthy investigation, something that is going to be multifaceted, looking into not only the shooter, but also his associates. You mentioned his social media accounts. And obviously someone who has, Nazi and fascist paraphernalia that's, posted up online and has some of the questionable things that Alex Marquardt had indicated earlier is going to raise red flags. So to say that there were no warning signs now, I think it's perplexing because it seemingly lets people off the hook. This will be a lengthy investigation. Again, the focus will be, were there areas where either the public or maybe someone that this person knew were areas they could have stepped in to intervene, either with the shooter or to call law enforcement and say this is someone that we need to be focusing on. One other thing I want to mention, and Jessica is spot on, and they're mentioning the Office for Victim Services. These are the unsung heroes, the angels of the FBI, they call it. They're the ones who will be there. Obviously on our screen we see officers that show up, the tactical teams that are there processing the scene, that will be going through and trying to, handle these devices and detonate them in order to ensure they're no longer a threat to the public. But it's these victim services advocates that will be there long before the tactical teams that are working with the victim family members in order to make them whole, in order to help them get past this in any sense that they can. Art Roderick, you've spent a lot of time studying these kinds of mass killings. What stands out in this particular case?
Well, there's a couple things that struck me right away, and when you look at the tactics that this particular individual used, he had the trench coat. We saw the trench coat in Columbine. Pipe bombs. We saw pipe bombs in Columbine, but we also saw the use of a fire alarm to get everybody to come out into the hallways. That's been used in the past. So I think once we start digging into his computer and also looking at his gaming devices, this is a 17-year-old kid that I'm sure has been out there, either with an Xbox or a PlayStation, and has been talking to his friends online, and I wouldn't be surprised if some real good information came out of there for investigators. But it seems like he's been studying these past active shooters and using deadly techniques that they found to be successful, but also coming from that school, he knows how the school system works, and he knew those two resource officers that ended up getting wounded.
Phil Mudd, what stands out in your mind?
A couple things. I mean, frustration for one. What the heck are you going to do? We're going to look at his profile. We're going to look at his social media profile. But if you look at a kid in high school who says things about rebellion and who wears unusual clothing, and you want to tell me that these are going to be red flags we can pick out from a sea of hundreds of thousands or millions of kids across America, I think the problem is we're going to come back and say, depending on what the interviews, and Josh is right, we're early on, what the interviews point out, how do you come up with signals for school officials or police officials about something to do? One question I'd have, what did the dad know and what did the family know? We know from Parkland and that the investigation showed that a lot of people in the neighborhood and the family and law enforcement officials knew a lot, but this dad was in a house where not only were weapons available, this kid's building improvised explosive devices. I want to see what the interviews are. Who knew what when?
And keep in mind, I mean, look, at this hour, I think Vice President Pence is in Indianapolis, and he's speaking to a political rally, a political event, and he says something to the effect of, we obviously have more work to do about school violence. I think that's the thing about the political response to this, is that we're already seeing people are saying, oh, well, this is school violence. It's just a bigger issue. It's a much bigger issue because these types of shootings, mass shootings, happen just not just in schools. They happen everywhere now in this country. And so it's a bigger issue than just a school violence issue.
Well, let me ask Josh. Josh, if the father knew that the son was using the .38 caliber handgun, the shotgun, gave him permission to take these weapons, is he culpable legally right now for this mass murder?
Well, a lot of it will depend on what he knew and the degree to which that he knew that these weapons would be used in the commission of crime. Obviously, if he had any sense that that was the case, then, you know, he's done. You know, within Texas, obviously, the gun restrictions are a little bit less than we see in other states. I mean, it's my home state. I know that even as a minor, I mean, you can use a firearm at a range, for example, in order to shoot. So it's not unusual that, you know, parents would take their children in order to use firearms. The question is, you know, did the father know what the kid was going to do? And then an issue of liability. If the firearm wasn't, you know, locked up, if it was, you know, wasn't, you know, protected in some way, and this kid got a hold of it and then went to use it, I think that the father would face legal jeopardy. Again, a lot of that will determine or depend on what he knew and the level that he knew that this person was going to go and act.
Yeah, they're learning a lot already, but there's still a long, long way to go. Stay with us. We're getting updated information from the investigation into today's deadly school shooting in Texas. 10 people killed, 9 of them students, 1 teacher. Will there be more arrests? Also ahead, President Trump's shocking allegation that the U.S. Justice Department placed a spy inside his presidential campaign. What's the truth? Stay with us.
When you have a really traumatic injury, we have a short amount of time to get our patient to the hospital with good results. We call that the golden hour.
Evaluating patients remotely is where I think we have a potential to make a difference.
We would save a lot of lives if we could bring the doctor to the patient.
Verizon is racing to build the first and most powerful 5G network that will enable things like precision robotic surgery from thousands of miles away.
As we get faster wireless connections, it'll be possible to operate on a patient in a way that was just not possible before.
When I move my hand, the robot on the other side will mimic the movement with almost no delay.
Who knew a scalpel could work thousands of miles away?
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need or can't afford? Now you can sell your policy for an immediate payment.
We bought life insurance when our kids were young to protect their future.
Our youngest just turned 40, and we no longer needed the coverage.
That got us to thinking about letting our policy go. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. I learned that you could sell all or part of a life insurance policy, even a term life policy. Turns out, people have been selling policies like ours for the past 15 years. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we have money to help with the medical bills.
And to add to our retirement.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be a candidate to sell your policy. Call 1-800-382-9600 or visit CoventryDirect.com for a free information packet. 1-800-382-9600. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.